You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB. Giving you front row access to all the names in sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
Coming up 16 minutes past 2. The Wellington Phoenix men back in action tonight. Perth Glory are their opposition. 9:45 kick-off New Zealand time in Sydney. This is part of Unite Round. All 12 men's and all 12 women's teams playing their games in Sydney across the weekend. Last time out, the Knicks grabbed a 2-2 draw away at Adelaide.
4 yellow shirts to aim for in the middle. Bovalina's clearance is poor, and Barbarouses just cannot stop scoring at the moment. And just a minute into the second half, the Phoenix are back in front.
Yeah, they couldn't hold on though. 2-2, so a share of the points in their last game. Before they jetted out to Sydney, I spoke to head coach Giancarlo Italiano. Asked first of all how happy he was with that side, with his side's last outing, that 2-2 draw away at Adelaide.
I was very pleased with the point going to Adelaide. It's not an easy task. I feel that if we maybe were a little bit cleaner defensively, I think we would have taken all 3 points. But again, I can't fault the players for their effort. I thought they put in a good shift, and I think the only thing that I'll take away from that game is the last 10 minutes when we had the advantage with 11 men. I feel as though in terms of the group maturing, I think we need to capitalise on those moments.
Were you pleased with the way the team bounced back following the previous result against Sydney FC?
Look, the result was the result. I wasn't faulting the performance. The first half was really tough. They pressed us and they came with an intent to, disrupt our game plan, and I thought they did it really well. But in saying that, we probably had the better chances in the first half to score. And then what I was really happy with was the way we came back in that second half, and we were very resilient. And once we got back to 1-1, I felt as though we probably had the opportunity to win, but then there was a sucker punch to cop that goal with about 3-4 minutes to go. And even then, I still felt like we still had another goal in us. But look, I can't fault him for their performance. I was actually quite happy with that.
Another couple of goals for Costa, and it's not just his goals that's catching the eyes. All-round performances have been excellent. What have you been doing with Costa specifically to I guess, because I think by his own admission he had a season that he wasn't entirely satisfied with last season. Sure. What's changed this season?
I don't think much has changed. I think, he's playing more regularly, and, the coaching staff and myself, we try to simplify the roles of the players and make sure that they understand what's required. But, if you look at his performances overall, I think in every game he's had opportunities to score. I think the fact that those 2 goals against Macarthur were well taken gave him the confidence to say, all right, this is the old me. And now, like, he's just, I don't think confidence is an issue. He has that belief that he can score. But, this could have started at round 1 or round 2. So for me, he's done nothing different. He's just been a really good professional on and off the park. He's a good leader in the group, and it was just more about time than anything.
And as his coach, do you have to do anything different now to make sure that it continues for him?
Nothing changes with us. The messaging's the same. We feel as though that, one of the core values is, for us is professionalism. For me, I don't need to motivate him. I don't need to give him extra incentive. I think he is very ambitious in terms of what his goals are. I think he wants to be the best version of himself this year, and then hopefully, it gives him the form to get back into the All Whites and potentially that World Cup.
You didn't make too many changes to your starting 11 in the first half a dozen games of the season, a few tweaks in the last couple. Sure. The left-back role seems very contestable. How do you decide week to week whether it's Lucas Kelly-Heald or Sam Sutton to start in that role?
Well, that's a week-by-week proposition. I don't like to make changes in terms of continuity and building cohesion. I think that's very important for any team, especially to build a platform. The thing is Lucas has been doing admirably well, probably better than what most people expected. So, but at the same, on the other side, you have Sam, who is coming back from injury, and for me, the big thing with those two is making sure that I can balance both expectations of players and that I get them game ready. Because what's going to happen now? We've got after the Victory game, we've got about 5 games in the space of like 20 days. So I need to make sure that if required, both players are ready to play and play 90 minutes. So, that's a bit of forward planning on our side. It's not a week-by-week proposition. We make that assessment with all players. And because our squad is relatively thin, it's a fine balance.
Just on that then, the transfer window's open. Are you in the market?
Look, for me, the next 2 games are crucial to see where we sit. Depth is always going to be a challenge. We also have a lot of young players in the squad that merit some game time. But I am open, and I won't make an assessment after victory and see if we actually need something, or if we need to bring in and reinforce, or we have enough depth that will get us through the rest of the season. I'm really happy with the squad at the moment. But in saying that, 1 or 2 injuries and that can change very quickly in terms of depth.
Any positions in particular that you might be looking at?
Well, no. At the moment, like I said, I'm happy with the squad. I think there's enough cover there at the moment. But again, if we have 1 or 2 injuries, then we need to explore just adding to that depth. And
you're happy you've got the support from those who make these decisions at the club, those who hold the purse strings, that if you go to them and say, hey, here's what we're after, here's what we need, that you'd get a positive response?
There's always a positive response if, I can make the argument. But again, it's a week-by-week proposition at the moment, and we'll see where we're at in 2 weeks. And then if we feel like we need to reinforce, we'll reinforce. If not, then the boys have done an admirable job up until now. So for me, it's a matter of making sure that they're happy, they tick over. But again, like all the other A-League squads, 1 or 2 injuries to starting players, and then, it becomes a question of depth.
Any update on Oscar Zavada?
Yeah, so Oz is back on feet now. He's doing some straight line running. The fluid's out of his leg, so it's looking promising at the moment. I would expect maybe another 2 weeks before he's training fully, and then hopefully he will be available for that influx of games in February.
And this weekend, Perth Glory, slightly different, playing Perth Glory away in Sydney. You don't have to travel so far. I guess if they were travelling away, they don't have to travel so far. Does it kind of equalise things in terms of the contest we can expect on Sunday night? Yeah,
I think both teams don't have a disadvantage with travel. We're both equally disadvantaged, with the 3 to 4 hour flight. I think the venue will be interesting, and neutral venue, so no one has that home support. So 2 teams that I think, irrespective of what Perth's results have been, they've actually been very good in all their games. They've just been unlucky. I feel they've dropped a lot of points at the end. That's a confidence thing more than anything. So we're going into this game with our eyes wide open, and we respect them, and we feel like we have to be at our best to get the 3 points.
And just finally from me, you've played everybody now. Well, because we're coming back round. This is the second time you've played Perth.
Central Coast we haven't played.
That's Central Coast, yep. So have you reassessed your goals, where the team is at, given the first 10 or 11 games?
No. For me, I'm still of the mindset that we take every game on its merit. It's game by game. I think you'll see over the next 5 to 6 weeks, probably the end of February, the table will start sorting itself out, and then we'll start readjusting goals and what we can achieve. But for me, every time we talk about the future or where we're at on the table, it seems to me a bit more of a distraction than it is a positive element, and that's because once you take focus away from the now, it's very easy to lose sight of what's been working for us. So that's the same messaging I give to the group every day. And look, it only matters when we get to around 27 where we sit, all right? And I think that's something that I think the group is aware. So that's my job, is to make sure that they're grounded and they keep that focus.
That's Wellington Phoenix men's head coach Giancarlo Italiano ahead of their latest assignment. Perth Glory tonight in Sydney, 9:45 kickoff. As mentioned before, win, and the Knicks go back to the top of the men's table. Next home game is this coming Friday against Melbourne Victory, who are currently top of the table, so it could be 1v2.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.
This week on the Between Two Beers podcast, we're talking to former All White and All Birds co-founder Tim Brown about his challenging year in business, the realities of being a co-CEO of a billion-dollar company, and all the best stories from his journey from a Wellington flat to worldwide footwear industry leader.
I remember being at dinner in London and people would go around, oh, nice to meet you, we're making new friends or whatever. What are you up to? People would say, oh, I'm doing this, and this. And then it'd come to me and I like my body language would all wrap up and I'd go real small and I'd squeak out like wool shoes.
Between Two Beers. Listen on iHeartRadio or anywhere you get your podcasts.